Hello everyone, thanks for joining us this morning, and we'd like to first start off by asking you a question in this educational presentation, and that question is, what is the most difficult thing you find personally about trading? Okay, and I'd like to start off by sharing this display of a chart here. Now, obviously someone looking at this would say, well, why would you have any difficulty in trading this? So this would be very easy. This market pretty much just went up, and you pretty much just have to throw a dart at it and to find out where you want to buy. But after we asked students all around the world in over 110 countries and in virtually every state, there were many replies that came back with the difficulties. For example, let me just share with you some of the most common ones. A lot of the traders said, well, what would be the right strategy for me to trade that? And a lot of traders who aren't currently trading a method that makes them feel comfortable would need the right strategy that meets their needs. Also, a lot of traders replied money management. Well, where would you, know exactly how much to trade, how many shares, and things of that nature. A lot of people also replied the correct market. They say, well, what if that's not the market I trade? I would, even though I would love to be taking advantage of that market that went straight up, what if I trade a different market, or what if I like to trade, a different style? Still, others replied their entries. Okay, where exactly would you have gotten in? Would you have waited till price went all the way to the top to get in, or where would you have gotten in? Maybe at the bottom. A lot of students replied position sizing, extremely important, because how many shares, how many contracts you know to be, buying or selling once you do get into a position. This can make all the difference in your profit. A lot of traders replied stop placement. That's the most difficult thing they find about trading. And in that example, they would have, because where would you have protected yourself? Obviously in hindsight, that stock went straight up, but what if it had gone straight down? How would you have protected yourself? How about the correct time frame? If you looked at that, you said, oh gosh, that looks great. I hope that was a weekly bar, and it was a weekly bar, but what if you traded 5-minute bars? Or what if you traded monthly bars or daily bars? Would that same plan have worked for you? And then lastly, most of the students said exits. They said, well, this is great, Steve. What if I had gotten out too early? Or what if I didn't get out and then the market fell out of bed and then I was still holding? Where would I have exited that particular trade? Well, this all helped in formalizing with Pro Trader Strategies, our new masterclass, where we're going to take each and every one of your problems or what you have difficulty with or what we haven't really covered in detail and make it a masterclass. We're going to start out with different series of different topics that our students and members around the world have told us that they have difficulty with. And we're going to make special masterclasses, live classes with yours truly teaching you and going into greater detail about these specific problems that you may be having. So welcome. This promises to be a great introductory webinar into our masterclass. My name is Steven Primo, president and founder of Specialist Trading. About 8 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies, where all we do is teach and mentor students around the world, all the things that I've accumulated in my 40 plus years of trading. Okay, that's what we feel that is missing from most traders' plans or most traders' indicators or most traders' money management. What it really is sound fundamental education. That's why traders lose, because they haven't been supplied with a proper education. So what they do then is rely on someone or something else to tell them how to make their decisions. I know this from first-hand experience because I first started trading like that. It seems as if the entire industry is based on that, you mimicking someone else's trading plan. But if that works so well, and if it was supposed to work well for me 40 years ago, why, since the most of the major companies still do the same thing, where they have the perfect system or the perfect plan, why do most students still continue to fail? It's because you should never try to copy someone else. That's the great truth about trading. Everyone has to trade that according to a plan that meets their own needs. Now, you can have a basic format, something to work around, and then adjust it to meet your own needs, adjust the entries, adjust the stop placement, adjust the money management, adjust the exits. That's fine. But you should never trade exactly the way someone else is trading. That is a recipe for disaster, and that is why most traders are inconsistent. So this is what we provide. This is our goal, to provide you with sound fundamental education so that you can get on that road to consistency. So I'm going to tell you about this great masterclass that we're going to be starting very shortly. But before we begin, we are first required to show you this. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results in what we're going to be teaching in the masterclass. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share and display with you will be repeated in the future. And please remember that all examples that are going to be displayed are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, as you're taking a brief moment to view the disclaimer, I would also like to invite each and every one of you, if you haven't done so already, to follow us on Twitter. I post different information each and every day, anywhere from strategy signals to actual bits of wisdom I've accumulated along the way. So feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening sentence, we're a little bit different from most companies in that our only goal is to teach you how to trade with a specialist edge. Okay, we don't want to tell you what the perfect system is. We're not telling you what the perfect time frame or the perfect market is. We're offering you all this information and then helping you mold a plan that works great for you. Okay, this is the same way I was taught, and I believe this is the cornerstone that has allowed me to be trading now for 4+ decades, and hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. Okay, so since this is a classroom today, we're going to be educating you. We want to take all your questions, but if we stop, we have a good crowd here today. If we stop for every slide, we'll be here probably a couple of hours. So if you happen to have a question, please wait till the end. That way we won't drag on the presentation to take too much of your time up today. So if you have a question, write it down and try to remember it, and I promise I'll get to it at the end. The only question I will answer is the most common one, and that is, are you recording this? Yes, we record all of our presentations. So if you have to leave early or if you're having technical difficulties, we will send you a link to this recording, okay? So kindly wait till the end of today's class. All right, so let us begin. Now, we asked traders around the world once again, what is the most difficult thing you find about trading? And we showed and shared with you some of the examples we got back from students around the world and over 110 countries and in virtually every state in the United States. So it's not just privy to, in your state or in your time zone. It's basically all over the world. And these were some of the most common, even though there were more in different categories. These were some of the most common. And so what we found is that entries and exits were the most popular problem or difficulty that traders had. Where to enter, where do I get in, and where do I get out? Okay. You think those would be fairly simple with a chart or something or some type of trading plan, but most people have difficulties entering into a trade. And then where do they get out? What's a proper exit to get out of the trade? So after we reviewed all of these, we look back at the chart and we say, wow, it was hard to really think that entering and exiting would have been so difficult in this particular nice setup. But we realize it doesn't matter what market, what direction, what time frame. The problems exist for all students. So this tended to put us in the direction with Pro Trader Strategies and myself for developing our masterclass, where we just specifically have 4 weeks of live classes that are devoted to teaching you these specific little problems, things that we haven't touched on before. Usually when we have our live classes or colleges, we will talk about a group of strategies and we'll talk about all the rules and show you examples, but we've never touched about details, about different things that may be giving you trouble. So that's why we created the masterclass. So we're going to have a series of these different classes. They're 4-week classes, live classes taught by myself. We'll give you homework, we'll give you different assignments, but they won't be as long as our normal colleges, but they will be very detailed, focusing on the specific problems. So in Series 1, we're going to be talking about advanced entries and exits, the major problem that most students go through, whether you're beginning trading or whether you're a skilled, experienced trader. Most traders have difficulties with these two issues. Now here's the curriculum for our masterclass. Remember, it's a 4-week class. Week number 1. Okay, we're going to start off by learning how to listen to the market. Now, this is not something really esoteric or metaphysical, excuse me, but it really is almost like a science, because we're going to emphasize understanding trend and price analysis. You see, when you can see the trend, excuse me, and understand analysis of price and the way it works and the way they work in conjunction with each other, you're really learning how to listen to the market. That's really what you're doing, because price and trend are the market speaking to you. So when the market speaks to you through these two things, you'll learn whether it's going up, whether it's going down, and this will help greatly, as we'll go into detail in week 1, how to determine your entries and exits. Now in week 2, we talk about something entirely different. We're going to talk about high probability entry points for any market and time frame. So week 2 will be specifically devoted for entries. Now these are for traders basically this week was designed for traders who already have a pretty good strategy in place or a method, something that either they've devised or gotten from perhaps another another educator, but they don't feel comfortable with their entries. Maybe they're getting in too early, maybe they're getting in too late. So they want something to fine tune their entries in any market and or time frame. So week 2 is devoted entirely to that. Now week 3 is dear to my heart because we're going to focus mainly on patterns and contemporary indicators. Okay, this is the way I was taught some 4 decades ago on the floor. These were some of the first things that my mentors taught me, and these are really floor traders secrets because a lot of people don't use these now. They're based off of patterns and indicators. So I'm going to show you exactly all in detail what I learned some 4 decades ago and what I continue to use to this day in my own personal trading. And then lastly, we'll cover it with one of our most popular as well as powerful trading tools. That's the PET-D. You've heard about me speak about it before in other webinars and in other courses. Now the PET-D is an early trend detector. So there's many different uses for it, for determining trend, for confirming signals. But we're going to show you entry and exit techniques which you can apply with a PET-D that really will heighten and fine-tune your entries. This is another entirely different use of the PET-D. I'm going to show you how to do that in week 4. Now let's talk about week 2. This is what I gave the same presentation a little over a month ago, and we talked about week 2, which is the probability entry points. Let's just review that. Remember, we're talking about high probability entry points only in week 2. Now there are only 2 types of entries. Most traders overcomplicate their trading by thinking like, okay, well, I'm going to enter at a lower price, or I'll use a stop order, or I'll enter at the market, or I'll wait for this specific thing to happen. And they overcomplicate the process of entering into the market. And so that's why a lot of traders have difficulty, because you're really overcomplicating things. But once you understand that there's just 2 types, 2 categories to entering into any trade, any direction, any time frame, then you'll simplify things, all right? So we talked about the 2 categories. One is a continuation entry. So what is that again? Well, quick review, a continuation entry looks for some type of a trend. In this generic example, we have an uptrend in place. And someone who likes to enter based on continuation will enter all along the way up. So they're not concerned about purchasing at lower prices. They don't mind buying high and higher because they know that the trend's going to continue, and they're going to, continue to buy as we go up. Now, people who like to use continuation entries are traders who like a lot of action, they like a lot of signals, and they don't mind paying higher if price is going up or selling lower if price is going down. Now, the other category is a pullback entry. A pullback entry is for a trader who looks for some established trend. In this case, this generic case, we have an uptrend in place, but then a sell-off takes place or a little slip to the downside. Most people think, well, the trend has ended. But pullback traders using some type of format or benchmark will see that this is just a pullback level. And what you want to do is purchase somewhere around this level here when all the requirements are met, because trend will usually resume to the upside. So who are pullback entries for? Pullback entries are for traders who don't need that many trades because you're waiting for that sweet spot and you're looking for an inexpensive place to buy or a higher price to sell if the trend is down. So that's it. Those are the only type of entries you'll ever have. Now, in order to resolve your entry difficulties, you must first decide what type of trader you are. You see, I've seen in decades of teaching students around the world that most traders are out of sync with the type of entry trader they are. A lot of times they'll buy a system or create a method where everything is off continuation. You continue to buy higher on breakouts, and they don't feel comfortable trading that way, but they continue to trade that way, and they inevitably lose money because they're out of sync with their true nature. Or they purchase a system or a method that maybe has one trade every couple of weeks because it's based off of finding a sweet spot in the pullback, but they can't implement the process correctly because they like more action. They want to trade about 10 times a day, and to have to wait for one trade a week is just out of order for them. So you have to find out and first decide what type of trader are you. Are you a continuation trader or a pullback type of trader? And that will make all the difference. That's half the battle right there. So let me show you some examples. These were recent high probability entry examples. We showed you these before. In fact, this is the first chart we looked at earlier. This is Netflix going up on a weekly time frame. With what we're going to be sharing with you in week 2, look at all the entry points you could have taken advantage of. All right, these are continuation trades where you don't mind paying up because you know the trend is going to continue. And this can work to the downside as well. We see a strong downward trend here into Tesoro. These were all the sell signals that were generated as the market continued to go lower and lower and lower. Now we can do this in other markets and other time frames. This is a 15-minute chart of the E-mini. Okay, look at all the buy signals that were generated using our continuation entry technique. And one of the best things about our methods is that they are in sync with the overall trend. So as price is going higher, as you see in this example of QTS, we're only going to be generating buy signals. And as price goes lower, when the trend changes, we will only generate sell signals. So this way we ensure that you're having higher probability because you're in sync with the overall trend. Then we use the technique that generates these highly tuned entry points, okay? Now these are continuation entries. What if you're a pullback trader? Well, we're going to show you how to apply these as well. We have a nice uptrend in place. We have a little pullback that takes place right here. And right at the very bottom of that, our proprietary technique for generating a buy signal was generated, and there we have a nice move to the upside. You see how there's less signals, but you're waiting for that sweet spot of a high probability pullback area. This can work to the downside as well. Here's that same example in TSRO. Rather than using a continuation technique, we apply the pullback, and we have much less trades, but every time we bounced, a sell signal was generated, another bounce, another sell, and on this final bounce, another final sell. All right, that's the difference between continuation entries and pullback entries. Here's another example in the euro yen, a different market, different time frame. This is a 4-hour time frame. A lot of traders were thinking, well, we've made a bottom here, we're going back up. But with the techniques we teach you what the overall trend is. And once you know that, well, you could have determined that this wasn't a bottom, this was actually a pullback in an overall downward market. So a sell signal would have been generated, and look what happened after that, okay? That was a great pullback trade. All right, so that's advanced entries in our first series. We're going to be talking about that in week 2. But remember, we're not just going to be covering entries. We're also going to be talking about exits. So that's what I want to go into a little greater detail today and show you exactly what we'll be teaching in our master class. Remember, we talked about all the different weeks, what's going to be applied. In week 3, I'm going to be sharing with you secrets that I learned, many secrets that I learned on the floor when I was on the trading floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. And these have to specifically deal with patterns and indicators, okay? Very common indicators, very common patterns, but show you a unique and proprietary ways in which to apply them. So this is what my mentors taught me some 4 decades ago when I was struggling with the same things, entries and exits. Here's what they taught me on the trading floor, and I still use this to this day. In fact, I used this technique this morning when I was personally trading. Let's look at this chart right here. As we can see, all right, someone looking at this would say, wow, boy, how come I don't find setups like this? This is amazing. But markets rarely go straight up, okay? They rarely go like this. And it's the same way to the downside. You'll see this and go, gosh, I bought the puts, but when I bought the puts, they hung around for a month before anything happened. And it's the same way. Markets rarely go straight down either. When they happen, that's great. And if you're on the right side, that's fantastic. But they rarely do this. So here's what my mentors taught me some 4 decades ago. This was the exiting technique, and it's based off this philosophy. Price always wants to return to where it originally started, okay? I'm going to repeat that again. Price always wants to return to where it originally started. So what does that mean, and how can that help us? Well, let's look at these charts right here, all right? Remember, price rarely goes straight up or straight down. This is the way price usually acts. So how can we use that philosophy, that concept to help us? Well, we see here that we have a short-term uptrend in place. So we know if we're in an uptrend, we want to be a buyer, right? All right, so price is going pretty much straight up here, and then we have this happen. But we still think the trend, the overall trend is up. So how can we use that little philosophy, that little metaphor for helping us exit? Well, if price is always going to return to where it first started, here's where it first started, the sell-off, right here. So price wants to return back to that point, almost like a magnet. So remember, we're not focusing on the entries. That's going to be covered in week 2. But in this point, let's say you find a way to get into this. Well, you want to exit somewhere around this level because you know that price always wants to return to where it first started, this sell-off. And look what happens. Price goes back up to that level, all right? Now, Price can continue to go up, but in this case, it does this again, all right? So say you're long, you got long again, let's say at a 50% retracement, somewhere around here. Let's say whatever strategy you're using told you to get long, but you don't know where to get out. You don't know exactly where to use this. So price always wants to go to where it first started, to sell off. In this case, it's right there. So look what happens. Price, like a magnet, goes back up to that level. And you're going to see this continue to happen over and over again, because price always wants to return to where it first started. We have another sell-off here. The overall market is still up, and it should return back up to this level, and it went there and even higher. And you'll see this over and over again. So these are great exit points, or ways to figure out where to exit. In the mini course, I will show you different ways in which to use this concept and technique for placing exit points, okay? Right now, you just kind of understand the format of the concept, but we still have no idea. Do we get out exactly there, or are there different ways to exit? Or, that's an area that we should be considering exiting. So I'll show and go into greater detail. Now, this is on the upside. We can still do this to the downside. As we see here, this generic chart here, we were sort of going up, but then we really had a pretty steep downtrend. So we know now that we're most likely in a downtrend, a short-term downtrend, all right? Are we going to continue to go lower? Well, actually, we had just a little bounce, and we know, using the same concept, price always wants to return to where it first started, to bounce, and that was right here. So as we see, price, just like a magnet, was pushed down to that area again, all right? Now, a lot of people would say, well, this is a breakout, so we've got to sell, it's going to go lower, but look what happened, all right? We went back up. If you're short, or if you got puts, or if you decided to get short somewhere out here based off some technique, we're not sharing with you strategies in our mini course. We're only sharing with you different pieces of the puzzle, the information. Well, where one point to get out would be where price started to go up, right here. And as you can see, like a magnet, it goes right there again. So what's going to happen here? Well, now price jumped up again. This is where price first started its rise. Like a magnet, it not only went there, but went much, much lower, okay? All right, we still had a nice trade. It's a little bit difficult to know, let's say, if you had used this level as an exit point and it went even more, but now look what happens again. And according to your method, your plan, it's still okay to short. So you decide to sell somewhere around here. Where is price most likely going to go? To where it first started, down here. And as you can see, we went down there again. So there's kind of like this magnet concept. Doesn't happen all the time, it's not guaranteed, but this is just one of the many different ways of using patterns and indicators to help us to decide an exit point. Remember, in our courses, we're just trying to furnish you and provide you with education that has stood the test of time. Education that still is applied in many methods and techniques, but only a few are really still using it. And these are things that we can help you with that will help your entries and exit points. Remember, we're going over the curriculum one last time here. In week 1, we're going to learn how to listen to the markets by doing putting an emphasis on trend and price analysis. We're really going to focus on doing our trading by listening to trend and price analysis. In week number 2, we're going to focus on high probability entry points. Whether you have a strategy right now that you really love, or whether you're working on a strategy but you just do not feel comfortable with the entries, we're going to devote week 2 specifically to continuation and to pullback entry points. We're going to show you exactly how to apply this process in any market and in any time frame. In week 3, we're going to talk about more about what I just talked about, where we showed the patterns and how price always wants to return to where it first started. These are floor trader secrets. These are different secrets based off of chart patterns and contemporary indicators. Very simple to apply, just that most of us are not traded. A lot of people feel this is too old school, but as people tend to be more and more frustrated with the markets and not getting the results they want, they tend to go back to the things that worked, and these are things that really work. And then our last week is devoted to probably our most powerful tool we have at Specialist Trading, that's the PET-D. Most of the time we use it to confirm our signals or to tell us what the trend is, but here I'm going to share with you advanced entry and exit techniques, how the PET-D can tell us where to enter and where to exit, okay? Now, if you go to my website, Specialist Trading, or you go to my sister website, which is Pro Trader Strategies, you'll see they have lots and lots of testimonials from our past courses and people that have taken our courses where they've said, boy, for the first time in 10 years, I've started to become consistent. So we have a lot of great, testimonials and people telling us how well they've done. They can even come from, this example right here was from a hedge fund trader, someone who'd been trading for years and who was still using our methods, because you've never been around too long to learn some more things. Now here's the attendee discount we have for all the people today, because we really want you to become a part of this series. This is our inaugural series, series number 1. We're going to offer you our 4-week masterclass. This is 4 weeks of detailed live instruction, okay, with yours truly. We're going to set a time each week to have our classes. Classes usually run, and when I've given college courses before, anywhere from an hour to 3 hours long. So depending on how much you want to learn or how many questions you have or want to converse with me online, we'll be there. We can have them on the weekends, we can have them during the market or after or even before the market. It's entirely up to you. We'll discuss advanced entries, advanced exits, and also we're going to throw in something that we feel is going to kick your trading into the next gear, which will help you specifically with entries and exits. We're going to offer you 1 year of our PTS Primo charting platform. I designed this with Pro Trader Strategies. All the examples you saw today were displayed coming from our Pro Trader Strategies platform, and many of the things I will be teaching in our mini course series can easily be accessed on the platform. So a lot of the things that you would have to, if you're using another platform, you'd have to calculate by hand. With one click away, you'll see the arrows, up and down arrows, appear right on your screen. So this is the trading educational portal we know that you have been searching for. So we're offering that included with the educational signal alerts. Remember, you're getting this not from someone who's been trading 5 or 10 years who thinks he has the perfect system. This is from someone who's been using all these techniques for the past 41 years. So you're getting a mentor, a teacher who's been applying these to his personal trading for 41 years. Now this is going to be coming with mentoring correspondence. So even if you've attended the 4-week course, you can still email me with questions that come up in the future, and I'll always be there to answer any questions you have. So these are 4 weeks of the master class, and we honestly feel that a year from today, you will have wished you became a member of this master class. There's so much detailed information. Usually I kind of skip over this in our colleges and courses because I'm more concerned about explaining the actual rules to the strategy or showing you examples. But these are the little bits and pieces, the puzzles that really leave a lot of people in the dark because I don't spend a lot of time focusing on that. So that's why we're going to have these different series of different things, anywhere from money management to how different ways in which to use the pet D to entries and exits, and a lot of other categories that you've been having trouble with. So once again, here's our 4-week masterclass. It's all included. This is the very first. I'd love for you to be our first in our inaugural series of our masterclasses. And this 4-week course would usually cost close to $5,000. There's so much included in it. But remember, we're giving you a great discount today. We're dropping it down to $44.95, and we're including payment plans. We realize it's still too big of a sum for some traders, so don't worry. You can still be a part of the class, the live classes, with a small deposit and schedule some type of payment plan. And remember, this all is going to come with 1 year PTS Primo charts. So this is a great, great offer. That's roughly about an extra $2,000 that we're taking off, an estimate of $2,000 we're taking off for free. So you're really getting a great, great offer with this, and you're getting 41 years of information taught to you by someone who's been applying it on a daily basis. So here's how to take advantage of this. Contact my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. I designed the platform with them. I would suggest, and I would actually recommend, rather than emailing them, I would recommend calling them firsthand at area code 310-598-6677. Because if you do that, they have a trading consultant. They have many trading consultants manning the phones. You can structure a payment plan with them. So for a small deposit, you can still be up and running in our first class, okay? Now, the link you see at the very bottom is the link that will take you to sign up, get this great discount, and you can be up and running with the platform right away. That's not a live link, but if you look at the chat box, a live link has been posted. So that would be the link you'd want to click on, or you could just copy and paste the link below the phone number on the screen in front of you, okay? Now I'm going to open up the question and answer box. I want to thank you for taking time out. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. Pam says the most difficult thing in trading for me is staying focused when the market is slow and not over trading. Yes, that is an extremely common problem. I know that most traders go through this at one point. I know when we were on the floor, uh, when I was on the trading floor many years ago, when it was crazy, oh, I mean, you would stop from the minute you walked in on the floor at 4:30 a.m. to when you left around 2:30 a.m. It was nonstop. You wouldn't even have lunch or anything. And then you go into the summer where you would basically, by 6 o'clock, you knew that there was nothing going to be happening for the remainder of the day. Even the opening hadn't happened yet, and you knew that there was absolutely nothing that was going to happen. And so then that's when overtrading wanted to come in. You had to have a discipline to stay out. Possibly that may be one thing that we'll cover in upcoming series of the master classes, okay? Because I know that's a very common problem, and it's very frustrating because what'll happen is you'll overtrade, you'll probably end up with a loss, and then you'll try to, now you got to get your way out of it, and you'll continue to overtrade, and in all actuality, you're probably going to dig yourself further into a hole. So we have ways in which to stay out of that, but that's another mini course. But thanks, Pam. That is a tough one. A lot of people are green. Entries and exits are very difficult for them. If you are the people that are green, this is the class for you. We're going to be spending so much detailed time on just those two topics. See, what's different from when we have our colleges is each week we have a different thing that we cover that is totally unrelated, either a different strategy, a different indicator, a different method. Everything in our new masterclass is related. Everything is going to be detailed with either entries or exits. So that's where it's different, and we just are going to focus and put a magnifying glass on those two different things. We're not going to be talking about anything else, okay? Chuck is asking, what else is included on the platform? Does it include any strategies or, well, I'm not sure about the strategies because remember, this is not a course in strategies. This is a course basically in entries and exit techniques. Those techniques will be included, but I would contact Pro Trader Strategies. I know that you will get the fluid. That will come automatically. That's our fluid background. But the Strategy 4 is a course in and of itself, and in that Strategy 4 course, we cover money management. We cover not only entries and exits, but a host of different things as well. So I'm not sure if that would be included, but I would contact them. They may be able to work out a deal for you if you like with a substantial type of down payment. Sure. So if you have questions concerning any of the disc, I see there are more and more questions. A lot of people are interested, but they have more and more questions about payment plans or discounts or what else is included. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. There is absolutely no obligation. They would be happy to answer any question you have, and because they're involved with all the discounts and all the tech support. So anything regarding that, they're the ones to contact. Anything, once we get into the actual live classes and you have questions concerning an entry technique I share with you or an exit technique, those will be sent directly to me. And in the course, you'll get my private email address. You can contact me whenever you'd like, okay? Yeah, so a lot of people are asking about that. That's the thing to do. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. Remember, there's absolutely no obligation at all. They're there to answer any questions, and they would love to, help you out with a payment plan. Also, they'd love to answer any questions about the platform as well. The platform is something I use on a daily basis as well, and the reason why most people love the platform and why we're offering it is because we have made it so simple. You have scans that are included, so the things I'm talking about, you can scan for buy and sell signals on a nightly basis. There's always also the fluid background, which tells you the overall trend, which Chuck was asking about. All these things are one click away. Sure, you could have them on other platforms, but you'd most likely have to calculate them by hand. This way, it's all there for you, and it's so easy. You've heard me give different webinars about the platform. We've got nothing but positive reviews about it, and we're working every day to make it better. A lot of people are giving us suggestions, and so we're doing that with upgraded versions. But all the basic things are still in there. So this is a great deal included. That would be, if you included that on top of the regular price, we'd be talking about $700 to $7,500. This is discounted to $44.95, and you can also be established with a payment plan, so you don't even have to come up with that as well if you don't want. It's a great offer, a great way to finally get a lot of these, different problems and difficulties that you've been having solved under your belt, and so you'll be able to really feel that you're on that road to consistency, okay? Remember, contact Pro Trader Strategies. You can either email them. I would strongly suggest calling them at area code 310-598-6677. They can establish a payment plan. So for a small deposit, you'll be up and running and in the first live class with myself teaching you, okay? Thanks again. I hope you got something out of this, and I really look forward to not only you becoming members of the PTS Primo charting platform, but mostly becoming students of mine in our brand new and our first inaugural mini, or I should say master courses, which are just going to be in our first series is going to be entries and exits, okay? Thank you so much for attending. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.